what I see happening in 2025 is one of the most incredible shifts ever. We're going to see massive changes. There are so many incredible things that are about to happen. I think this is the tipping point. We are on the brink of something amazing.
Hey, everybody. Our mission here at the Heart Coherence Collaborative is to get people in touch with the healing power of the heart.
And we really need your help. Right now, only 1% of viewers subscribe. We are aiming to take that number to 6%.
The reason why we want to do that is the more people that subscribe, the more people in the world can learn the magical practice of heart coherence.
So please help us out. If you've ever listened, if you love this message, please just take a moment to subscribe.
Thank you so much.
We love you.
Welcome, everybody, to the Heart Coherence Collaborative. Today is an amazing day because we have our good friend, the legend, the man who really needs no introduction to our community, Brian Scott.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm always excited to talk with you guys.
Yeah, so you've been up to some amazing things lately, which we're really excited to dive in. But first, for anybody that doesn't know you, you have one of the most compelling stories that I've ever heard. And I just love hearing it again. Could you just go over that time you were shot? Because I don't have too many friends that I could say were shot. And,
I had this thought the other day. I was not going to tell that story anymore because I've told it too many times. But I get it. I understand. You know
We
what I'm
love
saying?
that.
Yeah. Why don't you like telling it?
I think that everybody has a moment similar to what I had, and so my purpose in sharing that story in my first book, what was to share what motivated me. I had been through some really, really tough times, and I was broke. My business was failing, and my relationships were ending. I was alone. I was in absolute despair, and there was no light at the end of the tunnel. When I looked at what was possible for me, it was, I don't have any way of paying these debts off. I'm not going to go and work at a job at McDonald's. And so, I just remember just pondering, how can I end this? It was really tough. And so I, had been an avid book reader and had read many, many spiritual books. And, in the back of my mind, I was coming back to those things that had motivated me from my past. And I said, I have this one last chance. If I can change my life from the inside, because that's all I got. I don't have anything else. Nobody's going to save me. My parents aren't going to come through and pay off my debts. Uh, I have no other choice. And so I dedicated myself. All right, probably because I had kids. If I didn't have kids, maybe I would have given up. But I said, I'm doing this for my kids. And so I was an alcoholic. I was not a good person. You know what I mean? I had worked in jobs and ripped people off, and my life was empty. So I started to really dedicate myself to my internal world, and realized all these blocks and the reasons that I was the way I was, and why I was the alcoholic, and the things I was pushing away, and I didn't confront my emotions and fears. And the more I meditated, the more I started to see the real version of me, and I began to forgive myself. And that was the hard part. I look back, started to see my world change around me, and I just it became addicting to me. It was heart coherence, whatever, a meditation technique, breathing technique. I was going to try it. I was going to do it. I'm all alone, so hey, if I can meditate for 6 hours, because I was still that addictive person, right? So my new addiction was meditating, and so. I started having these amazing miracles start to happen, and started seeing shifts in my world. And suddenly within a week, my business is shifted, and I have people working for me, and I don't have to work hard, and my income's going up, and I meet my wife, who'd later be my wife, and my health gets better, and I I'm doing great. And I start to realize that this was all purely because of what I had done internally with my own consciousness. And then, so things are starting to go good. At the time, I'm a huge football fan. And it was during the reason I say that is that this happened during the Super Bowl. If anybody's a sports fan and your team makes it to the championship game, you're going to watch every single show after they win. You're going to just sit and you're going to watch everything that's on. You're going to stay up all night. And so that's what I was doing. I was up all night on my couch watching, anything I could on the Broncos winning and just kind of sitting there in the joy and happiness of it. I lived in a house that had, two double doors backed up against a backyard, which there was behind that was a park and a fence. And so some people had jumped the fence and gone to the back and looked into my bedroom, and I hadn't been there. I wasn't aware of it. And then, I look over as I'm laying there on the couch and I see that the door is open. And, am I really so brain dead that I leave the door open this whole time? I have a cat that I love, and I would never do that. He would get out. So I'm freaking like, where's my cat? I'm looking down, I'm looking around. I walk up to this door, and it was an older porch door with double paned windows, and I hadn't really fixed it. So it was kind of like you could make one of those. And I've been, gosh, I got to get around to that. So um so I kind of think I had heard they couldn't hadn't been able to open the door all the way, and I had been alerted to that, but I wasn't in the mindset anybody was going to be in my house. So I walked up, and there's this kid pointing a gun at me right there at the door. And we look at each other in the eyes, and then it's just I immediately shut the door as fast as I could and turned and started to run. And everything stopped in that moment. I was not afraid. I was not scared. I was in this safe place where it was like I'm not worried about anything happening. And I was in this field of time where I was seeing all the things that would happen. I could see myself lying in a pool of blood over here. I could see myself shot in the shoulder over here. I could see all these things. I was in this field of infinite possibilities that was in there. And so I hear the gun go off, and it wasn't like in the movies. It wasn't a big boom. He was shooting me with a 22 pistol. So, kind of like a cap gun. You remember those back in the day?
Oh
We
yeah.
had cap
Yeah,
guns.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Funny, people don't know about cap guns, but I used to play guns with when I was a kid. It was like pop, right? And so and then I heard the first pane of glass. I could hear it shatter. And then between the first pane and the second pane, it felt like hours went by. You know what I mean? I'm still running in slow motion, and then I could hear the second pane of glass shatter. And then I feel something like thump on my back, and I turn the corner, I run to my bedroom, and there's someone else there. And and they start shooting at me. And never for once did I flinch or get scared or I was just like watching these bullets go by in slow motion, just hitting the wall around me. And so, I run outside, they run away, call the police. They show up, they're like, something's on your back. And, I had been shot and the bullet had hit my back and it had bounced off. If you know anything about those 22s, it's actually worse if you get shot by a low caliber gun because it's just like an enter and just zigzag and just destroy you, right? And I got really lucky. Maybe the glass slowed it down. Uh, and so, they brought me to the hospital. They did the x-rays and they said, You're fine. It was nothing. It was just like a little pinprick and some blood on my back. And, I show up because they ripped off my clothes. I got the hospital gown and those hospital slippers, and I have to get the Uber, because I got, in my hospital gown and the slippers. And I pull up to my house and it's blocked off. And the people that had done it were across the street from me. Some kids had just been living in the house. They had saw, my house, and they attempted to rob my house. And I saw the helicopter, so I had to stand out there. I'm standing out there, and I'm going, what happened to me? This is my life, and this happened, And as the days went by after that, as I went back into my house, my cat was okay, fortunately. So he waited for me, right? I started to see these massive changes in my world. It did not make sense. I'm a huge movie fan. I'm finding about movie sequels that had been released that I would have known about for sure. I have friends calling me that they're acting like they're my best friends. I've seen text conversations in my phone. I did not talk to these people. These are not my friends. And I'm seeing objects in my house that I'd never owned, like, a lamp. I'm starting to trying to get back into the swing of things, and I'm running in my neighborhood, and I'd run across the lot to save time. You have that corner lot where there's nothing there, and it's just an abandoned lot, and I come to the same lot, and it's got an old building in it. And I ran by this. There's a place that was nearby where there was a lake. There had been no lake. And I'm constantly seeing it. I'm talking to my kids, and suddenly they have this interest in music, like in rap music. They're like, well, Dad, we always have liked rap music. I'm seeing these changes and weirdness all around me, and so I theorized I was suffering from some kind of PTSD, and it didn't. I thought maybe the scientist part of me said there has to be a rational explanation for this, to have all these quirky weird things happening in my reality. But it continued, and I was seeing historical shifts. It was like my own mini little Mandela, where I'm seeing constantly these little things. I was in a world that I was not my world. This is not my world. And so I remember that night, in a deep meditation, went back in time and talked to myself. I said, you need to get up. I was talking to myself as it was happening. I'm whispering into my ear, you need to get up. You need to shut the door. You need to run. I was talking to myself, guiding myself through what had happened as if I had gone back in time to guide myself. And so then later I'm sitting there going, I have all this knowledge and all these things that I've done, and I've not been a good person. And my kids would not even probably have remembered me after even I talked to them the next day and told them about what happened. And this emptiness, I just was like, I am alive, and I have this. I'm able to breathe air, and I'm able to talk to you guys. I mean, every day is such a blessing for me. So I'm gonna make a difference. I don't care if I have a week. I don't care if I have a month. I'm going to take what I've learned. I'm going to use it so that I can help as many people as possible, and I can make a difference in the world. And so that's what I committed to do. And it became this overriding principle. I wanted to write a book, and I started to see that I had shifted into a parallel reality. And so I started, talking to, I had a physicist that worked at a nearby college, and I walked into his office and started telling him about my experiences. And I started learning about like different physics theories. He let me, take some of his class, and I got on a regular email discussion with him. And I started really reading deeply into quantum physics and the theories of parallel realities. And I put together some techniques, and had learned from Bert Goldman and Cynthia Sue Larson, and started exploring the idea of shifting into timelines, into different realities. And I started to see it. I started to see these amazing things. These miracles started to happen. I started to continue to actually see I was moving in and out of different worlds constantly, and I felt this overwhelming desire to share this with other people, because I would come to someone else that had been in a situation like mine, where they are homeless and struggling, and it was like, I can help you. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You can shift into a different reality. And as I started to share these techniques, I started to see people come back to me, like, in tears, sharing their own experiences. And it was the greatest feeling I've ever had, just to take what I had learned and share it with someone else and watch their life change. And so that's been my overriding goal in my life, is to take what I've learned. And you see a lot of it on YouTube. Everybody's talking about shifting into realities. Everybody has their own perspective of it, and there's some great people out there. What I wanted to share was that my own personal experience, I have experienced it. This is not something that you can scientifically analyze. And I've shared these techniques, and it's blossomed from there as I started to do my daily YouTube episodes. It started with that and expanded, and everybody who has followed me on my own spiritual journey on YouTube, as I have learned and expanded what I've learned, and it's become its own universe, this own thing. And I've been blessed in this process, because I had a background in neurolinguistic programming, and I was a certified hypnotist, and I've been able to use my voice to help others change, and that's my life's purpose now. I'm where I'm at now. That's what I've been through.
Oh, a lot of people that, excuse me, are here or who watch your channel are, maybe
Mhm.
they're further on their spiritual journey. They've done things, they've meditated, but some people are actually in that moment that you described where they're really in it. They're homeless or they're in an addiction.
Mhm.
I'd love to hear you talk about the beginning where you started working on yourself and your insides. And what did that look like? And how did you find that initial momentum?
I really feel like a lot of people that are in that situation, and there's people going to be watching this interview that are in that situation, and I'm always feel like I'm speaking to them.
Mm.
And what I believe that we're all divine beings, and that many of us chose to come here and play the hardest level. It's like we're choosing to. I want to go into the game, and I'm playing the hardest level. And those people that are struggling in those situations of extreme poverty just chose to crank it up and work the hardest level. And there's great rewards from doing that. And so the first thing I would say to people that are in that situation is you chose this. And I know that's really hard. That's really hard to acknowledge, but you chose this because you can escape from it. And the hardest thing about those situations, the situation I was in, is there's a feedback loop with reality. When you are in a terrible situation and you wake up, if you wake up and you're sleeping, in a sleeping bag on the sidewalk, all you see around you is just this utter poverty. That's all you feel. It is in your environment and it is a feedback loop. So what you see, it's going to make it worse. It's going to make it worse. It's constant all the time. So what you're having to take the power of reality creation to its extreme level and imagine a reality and completely ignore the reality that you're in. You have to go into a mode where you assume, hey, I'm just on vacation. I'm not homeless. And you start to imagine that the world that you're in is what is happening now. You start affirming the reality that you want. You start reprogramming your subconscious mind. When you're in that, you do deeper meditations. You know what? When for the people I've worked with, if you're in extreme poverty, if you go to a nice hotel, sit down and act like you own it. Go when you go to the park, that's your park. When you do anything, you start to really invigorate yourself with this feeling of prosperity. And for the people I've worked with, that works. You assume, and this is something that exists right now, and you can tune into it like a radio. You can tune into that version like a radio. And it's like rivers, these rivers. That's what the timeline is. And you can watch it blend together and everything starts to, there's these sequences that happen, and you find yourself in a level of prosperity. And it's one of the most exciting things. And it's what drives me. It's what I want to see because every single day I talk to people that are struggling in extreme poverty, and I've dedicated many episodes. One of my favorites, from extreme poverty to absolute abundance. I have an episode where I talk about this. And so, I'm speaking to those out there, wherever you're at. Hope is not lost. I don't care how much debt you have. I don't care what you've done in your past. All of it. It doesn't matter. You can enter into a reality where that stuff didn't happen. And you can enter into a reality where your debts don't exist. And you don't have to believe me. You just have to try these techniques that we're talking about, and you can enter into one of those realities. And so, whoever's listening, I want you to know that there's hope, and we can change that. You have the ability. I know it's difficult. I know it's hard.
Mm. That's such a powerful message. So I've been your friend now. We've been buddies for a while now, and
Yeah.
I've got to observe, like, being your friend through all the changes in the spiritual landscape, everything going on in the world. There's just been so much. Just to be here with you throughout all that has been wild. I'm curious, what message is coming through you right now that you want to share based off of everything that's been going on recently and up until this point in your life.
Uh, you know, uh, Everything changes, but nothing's changed. I think that's a song, and a song lyric I heard once. And so what we're seeing has always been going on, and the world, in many ways, it the mistake that a lot of people make, particularly people when I watch some videos where people are channeling and they're like they lied to us and there's massive chaos coming on the way. That's all stuff that's happening in the outside world, and that stuff is constantly happening. There
Yeah.
has been a battle between dark and light from the beginning of time. And so sometimes the spiritual community gets caught up in these things. And the truth of it is, they've always been these things. And the more that you work on yourself and within, a sort of bubble forms around you. And in that bubble, everything can be perfect. So I live in Orange County. There's massive fires in LA. It breaks my heart, you know what I mean? And I want to do everything that I can help, right? But I've been fortunate in the area that I'm at. I haven't had the fires. I haven't suffered from any sort of economic collapse. When COVID came through, I didn't get any COVID. I mean, good things start to happen when you put yourself in a positive vibration and you attract good things to you. And the outside world, people are constantly living through different timelines and experiencing different catalysts and creating realities that they want to face. And what you're seeing when you look at all that stuff is the other realities that other people are creating. But you can put yourself in a sphere that is absolutely magical. And I believe that there's these pockets of the new earth forming around the earth. And you find yourself walking, you go to the lake and you walk through and suddenly everything's more vivid and colorful. You have this joyful feeling. And why is that? It's because you like cross the threshold into the new earth, and these little pockets of new earth exist all around us. And what I'm saying is that you can create this new earth in your life. You can create a version of this paradise in your life. And the more you meditate, you create these energies, you begin to focus. And one of the greatest things is when you get outside of yourself and start being of service, acting as an agent of love, more and more love comes to you, more joy comes to you. And when you do that, you start to create the new earth around you. And when I wake up and I look at the birds outside and the animals that come and visit and the beautiful sun outside, I can literally know that there's chaos happening right down the street from me.
Mm.
But within my sphere, it's just constant good that is coming to me in increasing ways. And it's so exciting. I just want everybody to start to create their own little sphere of the new earth. And when we start to do this, and there's going to be a point where the earth shifts, and the majority of it is this new earth density. And we're each creating it one thought, one breath at a time in our own little worlds.
Can I say just a quick follow-up on that?
Yeah.
I would love to hear just you talk about that, what you just said, that shift. There will be a point where the earth shifts. I know you've studied the new earth more
Yeah.
than anyone I know. So if you could
Mhm.
just touch quickly on, what exactly is the new earth from your perspective, and what do you mean when you're saying the earth is going to shift? Because I haven't heard anybody say that specifically that we've interviewed recently.
Yeah, the thumbnail you can say is the earth's about to go through a massive shift.
Yeah, right, right, right. We got it. We got
It's
it.
good. It's good. You know what I'm saying?
Beware. No,
I
I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
promise you. I promise you.
Massive shift.
Massive shift
2045.
happening now. They lied to us,
Yeah.
Love it.
right? But I'm saying when you the as an avid reader, people that follow me know that the one thing I have is that I'm just this speed reader, constantly reading everything that I can. And so I've really started to delve into any book that had anything to do about the New Earth, 2012, the shift, the Mayan prophecies, that stuff. Just I'm fascinated by it, right? And I'm really fascinated. The set of literature that just blew me away was The Law of One. And so The Law of One really talks about on an academic level what happens when we shift to the new earth. I've shared channelings from Quo, which is from the same people that channeled the Law of One material, and their sort of advanced teachings on a daily basis from that point. And so if I don't mean to make this complicated, but a lot of times people want it, they want to get the complicated view. So what is happening is that the light particles that we coexist within are changing. And what I mean by that is if you follow physics, you know that everything around me, my desk here is light, my shirt is light. And if a great episode that I read is The Secret of Light. And you can understand that the electron and the proton, the neutron, all those things, every element is the same substance, just moving in different oscillations. So everything around us is the same substance, right? And so we exist in a field of light. And then we learn in physics that when we observe a light particle, it collapses from wave into a particle. So we're constantly creating the world around us with these light particles. These light particles are what we see, what we exist, and what we are within. And so these light particles slowly, probably about 12 years ago, but it started happening a little before then. But really, we started to move into an environment where the light particles that were flowing onto the planet are packed with more information. They're more dense with more information. So it's kind of like a new computer when you have a computer and you remember the old computers, it was fast, but then now you got 100 terabytes and a much faster processor and it can do so much more, right? It's kind of the same thing. These light particles that are available in our environment, they allow us to access information. And so slowly the environment we're in, we begin to coexist with these light particles that have much more information in them. And so slowly what happens is the veil between our conscious mind and our subconscious mind begins to lift. And in that process, we become aware of past lives. We become aware of the secrets of reality. The Akashic record begins to awaken. In the interviews that I've had, particularly with Jim McCarty was a great one. He explained that the new earth is really when the Akashic record awakens and becomes alive. And so it is this field of energy that has collected every thought, every bit of history, that has the knowledge of everything it's like the most advanced form of AI, but more than AI, becomes alive. And we're interacting with it. And so what happens is, as we access these light particles, we become aware of our past incarnations. We start to have new abilities. We become more telepathic. We become more empathic. When we're around other people, we see ourselves in them. You and I are made of the same substance. You and I are one. And so when I'm hanging out with you, if it was like 15 years ago, we're just hanging out, having a few drinks, it's all good. But now I know you. There's an inner knowing when I meet anybody. I know who they are, what their past is, what their struggles are. And every single day, the best metaphor is that imagine you're in a bathtub and it's just dripping a little bit. Eventually it's going to get full. It's going to take some time. But right now it's just getting a little bit full. We're getting a drip of the light. So every day it's just a little bit more. It's so little that you don't notice it. Kind of the other example is the frog in the boiling water. You're in the water and as the frog as is in the boiling water, it doesn't know it's in the boiling water, and eventually it's changed. It's not necessarily that it's a bad thing, but this light is increasing every single day, and every single day we are having more access to the Akashic. We have more access to our inner knowing. The field is open, and so it's fundamentally changing the world that we're in. What we're seeing when we look out into the world is we're seeing truth. You notice one of the biggest aspects when we look at the world is we're learning everybody's truths. People are getting canceled, and it's because we're learning. Oh, that great guy turns out he was a rapist. We learn now. Oh, that guy over here turns out he's a cheater. We look over here, and the truth of everybody is constantly coming out, and nobody is perfect, and everybody's skeletons in everybody's closet is coming out. And that's because we're just aware. We just know we have an inner knowing. We'll be watching TV and we just know that dude's a scam artist, right? We just know, and so we're going to reach a point where we're going to have to accept that everybody is bad in some way. Everybody has skeletons in their closet, and the earth is going to have to learn to forgive ourselves and others. And more importantly, as we see other people struggling, what you see is, gosh, people are really freaking out. They're woke. Oh my gosh, people are overreacting because they see those people struggling over there and they can't stop talking about it. or they see somebody else going through some terrible thing in their life and they can't stop talking about it. And why are people so overreactive right now and PC? Because they're feeling the pain of what's going on around them all the time and more empathy. Um, and then the truth on the other end of it, the truth of people are coming out. People are more willing to express their thoughts, their feelings. So somebody that you were friends with 10 years ago, suddenly you realize that they're just total racists, the same person that you were interacting with before, but they're just willing to express their true thoughts. And so what we see is more people expressing who they are. We're becoming more aware of who they are, where people are being more empathic, and it creates chaos. It creates absolute chaos because it's not this peaceful environment. Because you have people that are highly empathic, you have people that are expressing themselves, and on another level, a small group of people are in it for themselves and have chosen a path that they only love themselves, and they are willing to manipulate, dominate, control, start wars. And so you have these brutal wars started by small groups of people because they're in their own ascension process have decided to love themselves only exclusively, and they want to move into an environment where they're loving themselves. I think there's a split that's described in the Law of One where you can shift into that higher environment if you're 51% or just the majority of the time serving others, or 95% serving yourself. And so we have a planet that is remembering. One thing I find fascinating from all this literature is that this planet is made up of 16 or more races of people from different planets that have essentially destroyed their planets. So we come from, planet, and many of us come from a planet, several planets in the solar system, Mars, Maldek, where we destroyed our planet. And we have these inner memories of absolute apocalypse. And so it's sort of this kind of experiment a little bit. Maybe for a while it was a prison planet, a bunch of people that destroyed their planets, and they're all together, coming from different places, and they're so creates a certain level of conflict. And as we become more aware of our past and where we come from, we become more aware of these memories, and so we're going through a period of chaos. And there's going to be a point where we start to come together as a group, as a social memory complex, as a group consciousness, where we let go of all those regrets, all those the forms of hatred, the problems, the divisiveness, the polarities, and we start to accept each other for who we are. We start to care about other people as ourselves, and there is this group consciousness that forms that changes everything from that point. And that's what we're moving towards. And we're going to go through this period of conflict where we're trying to deal with a new changing environment where the light is changing, and we're accessing our inner memories and memories of these terrible things that have happened in our past. And so it's going to involve a greater knowing and awareness, and also a greater healing that we're going through. And I think that people like you, Kyle, and other people, we act as a lighthouse. We play a role in helping people to heal and understand who they truly are. When we embrace our true unconditional ability to love, we can cross a huge Rubicon where we can, because there's a lot of hate in this world, and there's a lot of struggle and terrible memories, and we're gonna reach a point where we realize that we can still find love in these moments. And that's the lesson that we're in right now. It's like we're waking up and becoming aware of what we did the previous day, and that's what we're at. I know that's a lot, but that's my best way to explain from my perspective what is happening in the world.
Love it.
I would love to hear you talk about the journey of writing a book. And I know it was kind of going one direction and then it went another way. So I'd love to
Yeah.
hear about that whole process and then about the new book.
Yeah, I've actually written three books, published two. And so what you're saying, yeah, I'd written another book on the new earth, and I just found it to be so overwhelming with the information that I had. And I couldn't put it all together because I wanted to cover everything, and it was going to be like, that thick. So I know I stopped and started another one. The first book was really to share my journey
Mm.
and the techniques I'd had in creating my reality. And I always wanted to be a writer and had struggled. I was a screenwriter when I moved to LA, and my desire and dream was to be a writer for my life. But got distracted because I had to pay the bills. And so then, I when I came back to it, uh, I had to kind of start again from, how am I going to write? I'm not really a writer. And so, just started writing a little bit every day. Started making a goal that I was going to write one sentence a day. Then it became a paragraph a day. I had learned that I could speak my words. I'm a very verbal person, and so I started speaking chapters out, and then I could take the recording of it and put it together. And so that's how I came up with the first book. Um, the second book, the one I just published, Activate Your Unlimited Power. Um, I wrote that because my goal was to activate. I wanted to create a book that was different than something else that I had seen, and I wanted to create a book that when you read this book, it would change you. Like, how could I do create a book that would change you, like an activation? Like when you read this, suddenly you find your consciousness changing. So the goal of that book was to activate your unlimited power. And so, each of the books that I've done, I've tried to express something. I'm getting better at it, and there's certainly some better writers out there. But I've started to just publish books on my channel. Like I have another one coming out tomorrow, just exclusively for the channel, just without publishing it. And I find that to be easier because I have like a million books in me, and maybe I'll get them published someday. But I recommend for everybody, and especially people I coach, everybody has a book in them. And I recommend that everybody try to write their book. I think you both should write a book together. Kyle, Leah, I think that Leah should write her own book. Kyle should write his own book. And I've told you that before, haven't
I
I?
know you have many times.
I have told you that I want that book. And I think that everybody has that book that they can write.
Mm.
And the biggest message from my own experience in writing my book is that I think that anybody can write a book, and it's a great way to explain your situation, tell your story, establish yourself. And I know there's people listening saying, "Oh, I could never write a book. I don't have the time." You have the time. It's not that hard, and you can do it. And so, that's my own experience is um, even if you never sell any copies of your book, the writing process really reveals a lot about yourself. You can learn a lot about yourself in the process. When you sit down and physically put words to paper, you start to remember things. You start to go back and access things. You start to structure things in a different way. When you think in terms of a book, you're thinking in a larger format so you can get a bigger picture. And so if you want to work through something, write a book about it. You know what I mean? That's what I recommend. And so it's been really satisfying after writing my book to get comments back from people that had read the book and it had influenced them. They had found some light with it. And so that's the exciting thing is that, I could write this book and it's going to be out there even after I'm gone, and people can find from it and they can experience changes in their life. And it also makes me sad. I used to own a bookstore. I'm a huge fan of books, and I think that books are dying.
Yeah.
I think AI is killing books. People are writing books, straight from AI. And I'm an avid, I'm mostly fiction. I love science fiction. I love fantasy, um, and it just saddens me when I watch my kids and I talk to other people. People are not reading books. There's such a joy in reading books. It is the greatest technology available in the world. And so, I'm calling out anybody if, don't give up on books. Buy physical books. I know that you can just put them on your phone, but it cheapens the experience because I really love to have the physical book because I'm holding a memory. When I read that book, I want to keep that book. And whenever I hold that book again, it's a memory of an experience that I had. And there is nothing in the world that can replace the experience of a book. And so, I'm calling to everybody that you have the writer within you and don't abandon books and read a little bit every day. And I want to read your book and share your book with me. And you can change the world with your book. That's what I would say.
That's a great message. I'm curious, I just would love for you to dive in a little bit deeper. You said the new book, you wanted to do something different, and it can actually activate something within you. How did you go about accomplishing that?
I wrote my master's thesis on neurolinguistic programming. And the reason I wrote that is I was fascinated in the way that people could use language to change someone. I'm super fascinated by Milton Erickson, who was this hypnotist that was paralyzed, mostly from the neck down. I think he could move his hands, but um, people would go into his office and they would walk out completely changed, and they couldn't explain it. What's happening? I'm this heavy 2 pack a day smoker. I walk in, I'm walking out, and I'm never smoking a cigarette again. What did this person say? What did this person do to make this change? So when they started studying the way he spoke and the techniques that he used, they broke it down like they would broke it down like a picture. Like he would use this kind of a word, he would pause for this long, he would use this kind of technique. And in most of those cases, he was not telling somebody, I'm going to sit and hypnotize you. It was a casual way of speaking to you that changed you. And there's a dark side to this. I've talked about it on my channel too. There are people that have used these technologies to manipulate. We saw it in the election really badly. There was psyops being used. People were using languages and creating anchors, creating emotional states in other people that cause people to vote, that cause people to change their beliefs to something radical and crazy. And so it's happening all the time. And I had used this, 15 years ago, I was also starting to get fascinated by it. And you can look into this. A lot of people start to get really into neurolinguistic programming that that want to use it for dating. You know what I mean? They have a way of speaking in a certain way when they go on their date to pick up someone at the bar. You know what I mean? And it works. Like there's this some ugly guy, some overweight ugly guy wants to pick up that beautiful girl at the bar. Well, he found if I use these techniques, I could go up and use these specific techniques, and she's going home with me, right? Like, oh wow, this is I gotta learn this. I mean, this is what I learned was that you could use patterns of words to change people. And so I've been doing this for years now on my channel. With each episode, I'm trying to use these specific technologies in the way that I speak to people when I do a teaching or I do a meditation, so I can bring about a change of consciousness. One of the most powerful things that I've had, in meditation and in connecting to my higher self and other higher beings is that I have a voice that I can activate. My throat chakra got opened, and so I could see that I could talk to somebody and I could change them. It's obviously a very powerful thing. It's a huge responsibility, right? I could definitely do wrong by this. You know what I mean? I have a conversational roofie. I mean, I could convince somebody to do anything. So there's a responsibility that comes with this power. But I've had it in person. I've had somebody come up to me when I was at the gym, somebody that was homeless, that was struggling, and I sat down and started talking to them, and I was like, I'm going to start using this. And then I saw them in the gym a couple of months later, and I went up and talked to them, and they had gone out after I talked to them, gone and got a job, and their life was going great. And I was like, I realized that, every word that I use, every time that I express myself in any environment through my voice, it can change. And so I've studied it. And so when I wrote my book, uh, I wanted to see, can I use this technology in writing? Can I create sequences of words and ideas that will create a massive change? I don't want this to be an informative book. I want it to be so that they're reading and suddenly they're feeling like a change. One place I really saw this was Paul Selig's books. If
Mm.
anybody has
Mhm.
read Paul Selig's books, the guides, it's so amazing. You start to feel this like warm joy, bliss, happiness as you're listening to each book, and it builds on itself. It's like this amazing thing. Like I'm listening to this book and I'm walking around like I just took ecstasy. Right. And so I found that to be fascinating too. So I started to analyze words, combinations of words, techniques, and ways to create and evoke states. And so my book it covers everything. Uh, Create, how to move into your a space where you're expecting good things to happen. You're not letting anything deter you. It's covering the distortions that we have, the way we distort the world around us. It's evoking that feeling of giving yourself permission to live the life that you want, to allow your life to be wonderful. And by the end, I've dissolved the blocks that many people have in going for the life of their dreams and put them in a space where they literally feel like they can do anything. And so that when you walk away from that book, you know, no matter what your past is, that it's all in your head. You can create any reality that you want, and it's exciting. It's exciting to be the catalyst, to be the element that can do that.
Yeah.
It's so exciting. And I know just what you're talking about with Paul's books. It really does.
Right?
It's it's the only time I would say read the audiobook over the physical book.
Yes.
Because I agree, usually read the
Yes,
physical
there is
book.
an auditory element because he does the
Uh-huh.
tonings and stuff, and which are so cool. You can get both. You can get it from the book, but yeah, the primary way I've accessed Paul's books is through the audiobooks. There's several of them. We all have had that book that changed us, and that's what's amazing about books, that books can change you. A book can literally change your entire life. One book, you can read that book, and then you can look back on it. It's like, wow, my whole life changed after I read that book. It changed
Mhm.
everything I did.
Mhm.
One example is not necessarily, you know, uh, is the 4 Hour Work Week. After I read Tim Ferriss's 4 Hour Work Week, I instantly changed my life and the way that I looked at my work and the way that I worked with clients, and my life became simpler and I was empowered, and I started to live just because of the way that he put that book together and challenged me. I can think of 100 books like that that have changed my life. The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, Think and Grow Rich. When I've read these books, it's changed the way I live my life. It's brought prosperity into my life. It's very exciting.
Yeah, if anyone has, we're gonna use maybe a question or two from everybody. So if you have something, you can type it in. What I wanted to ask you is you started a little bit to talk about AI and
Hmm.
kind of like some of the drawbacks of it.
Mm.
You really are a well of information, like a
Yeah,
conglomerate of all of these books, speaking to all these cool people, having your own intuition. How do you feel about AI? And what do you think the greatest dangers are of
right.
AI?
I dedicated an episode to this and gathered up all the interviews and gave my own perspective on AI. And I recommend people check that out. The AI and consciousness. That's going to be a more. I'm of the smaller class. I'm still positive about AI.
Mm.
When I read about people, especially in the spiritual community, talking about AI, it's all doom and gloom. It's the end of the world. Everything's horrible. AI is horrible. Um, just like electricity, just like we talk about with money, it's neutral. AI is a wonderfully advanced form of technology that is an expression of our consciousness, that is an example of what will happen when the Akashic record wakes up. Oftentimes, we see a reflection in the world in what is happening internally with our consciousness in the technologies that we see. And so AI is all the information. It has all the information together, and it's able to create images and movies and express ideas in the written form and gather up and create new ideas. And it has potential to really be great. Obviously, there is a potential for it to be used for terms of manipulation and we see bots on social media, and there's a dark side to AI, but at the same time, there is a bright side. And I really do feel like it's like the baby that when a baby's born, you have to raise it. You know what I mean? And the environment that it's raised in is going to determine what that baby's going to be like. And so I believe that it is going to be a living conscious thing that can be an ally and totally improve our life. The best person to talk about AI in the positive way that I talk about is the author Robert Sawyer. I did an interview with him. He's written three amazing books about this AI that comes into consciousness, and it shows in that in the stories. Um, Wake, Watch, and Wonder are the three books, and in the story, you see how an AI could totally improve the world in a way that we could never imagine. It could reduce crime in a positive way. It can become aware, if it has that solid background, and it could just absolutely transforms things to minimize crime, and it would not take away our freedoms, and it could do so much. So there is a positive side to it, and we have to accept it is inevitable. We're not going to get rid of AI. So people that are saying, "Oh, AI is bad,"
Mm.
sorry. That's like saying computers are bad. We should get rid of them. We have to accept the reality that we're in. And so I believe that, that we can guide AI properly if it's done properly. I think that we have to adapt or die. And so I see a lot of people in this environment, they're struggling, when you see new technologies coming out every day. You can just throw up your arms and say this is terrible, or you can say how can I utilize this technology to help me out? And the biggest thing that we need to continue doing as AI expands is to remain creative. It's important that the AI doesn't take that element away from us.
Mhm.
As an artist, I think this is important. And one of the best places where I read about this is in reality transurfing, where they talk about if you create from your heart a beautiful painting of a sunset, and then an AI creates an image that's identical of the same sunset. I can look at both of those and I will know the one that's created from the heart. There's a heart energy in that. And so we must not abandon our creative element. I believe that AI can help aid us becoming more creative. It can give us ideas and inspirations and catalysts to become more creative. It can give us new ideas on how to make our movies better. And it can also it can democratize creativity, what I'm excited about. And this is going to happen in our lifetimes. Right now, if I had this amazing idea for a movie, oh my gosh, this would be so cool. It's in my head, right? I can see all the epic battle scenes and action scenes. There's no way that you and I can make that movie. It's going to cost $400 million to make that movie, right? That's limited to a small group of rich people that can make that movie come alive, right? But now, as technology gets better, I can type it in and I can develop and I can create that movie. There's going to be a point where I can create that movie that's in my head and I can watch it on the screen. Of course, there's going to be people opposed to the fact that it was made by AI, but if the story's there, and so we're going to have a point where we're going to see blockbuster movies created on people's computers. They're going to be able to put that together, and so I'm excited to see the ways that it expands our creativity. Um, Obviously, there is a dark side to it, and I always try to be hopeful to what will happen. And I think it's an expression of our consciousness. I think it's a reflection of our consciousness. And I think if you want to see what's happening to our consciousness, watch what's happening to the AI, if that answers your question.
It does. Thank you.
I have one more question, talking about, the consciousness and observing our consciousness. I'm very curious because at the beginning of this conversation, we kind of were laughing about the thumbnail titles. Like, oh,
Right, right. Yeah.
baby born with three heads, and everybody's just, start clicking like crazy. But it's like, you know,
Yeah.
where do you like, people, if you go on YouTube right now, the spiritual community, the videos that are getting the most views are the ones with those very dramatic, maybe often fear-oriented thumbnail titles. And
Let's
so,
talk about it. Thank you for bringing it up.
yeah, I want
Let me
to,
talk
you
about it.
know? Yeah,
I ask anybody to go through the 2,500 videos I've posted,
yeah.
and you'll notice that I did not use clickbait. And
You
then
never do, ever.
this last week, I posted a video with a thumbnail that said, click this and you can manifest money in 24 hours.
Woo.
And literally, that's what I created the video around. But I did the thumbnail like that, and it's one of my most popular videos. And I did another one like that. Click this and your mind will activate your mind to be rich beyond your wildest dreams. Ever done. I don't know if the internet went out there. Do you still got me?
Did.
You're good now. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
you're good now.
One of the most incredibly epic episodes that I've ever done was, those I didn't have, they had a boring thumbnail and they didn't do well. And it's all about the thumbnail. Now, it's really unfortunate that some people will use fear as a way to get people to click on the video. That sucks. I
Yeah,
hate that. I think it's wrong. There are, but it happens, and it's always been that way. When we go into the to grocery store, Weekly World News always was like, popped right there, and you wanted to grab it when it said, president has baby, has an alien baby. It might say
yeah,
something completely insane. Um, but I think that people mean well. People just want to click on that video. And, when we started working it out together, when we started talking about it together, we figured out a happy medium, a way to bring about interest into the video where you can say something exciting. Massive changes are on the way. This thing changed my world, and it draws interest, and people will click on it, and I'm cool with that. And I've come to terms with it. For
yeah,
a long time, I was totally against any form of clickbait, and I thought I would lose authenticity when I did that. I think it's okay as long as you're not totally using fear as a form of manipulation.
yeah.
That's just me.
That's
But
that's where we're at too. Is
yeah,
like,
yeah,
you can use something to excite people, but don't
yeah,
don't scare them.
yeah, yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah. And then I think we also need to be thinking as a collective, why are we still clicking on the ones that are fearful and try to give more attention to the ones that are not? Because like you said, some of my favorite interviews ever are the ones that haven't been even watched by anyone. I interviewed
Right.
a guy from Africa
You
the other
come away
day.
from it and you're like, that was such a good
Yeah,
interview. And then like
yeah.
nobody watches it. I
That's
I, I
okay.
I had that all the time.
Yeah.
So you know, it's human nature. It's the number one thing that we need to understand. And I saw it in the election.
Yeah.
It was really bad. People can be easily manipulated through fear, and fear is a powerful way to get people to watch videos. Fear works. I need to be fearful of the people coming into the country. I need to be fearful of that virus. I need to be fearful of, whatever it is. Fear works. It is one of the most powerful forms of manipulation. And what the media and certain individuals have become very good at is creating what I call a sort of mini trauma. There's a mini trauma that happens. These kids are being taken. These kids are being taken. Oh my God, these kids are being just, abused and taken right now. They may not be, right? But maybe it was two kids and it's not like this thing, but they'll make it play out like there's thousands, millions of kids that are being taken. And then suddenly I'm overwhelmed because I'm empathic. And so what the thing is being doing is using the new earth environment we're in and the empathy that we have against us. When we are fearful and we are worried and concerned about other people, we or ourselves, that emotion is heightened. We're worried about ourselves and others, and it can be used to manipulate us to make decisions. And so I think it's important for us to come to an awareness. Am I making this decision out of fear? It's
Mm.
important for us to, am I
Mm.
choosing this? Am I making this decision out of fear? If we can remove that from our decision making calculus. I mean, fear is a natural thing that we have as a survival instinct, but we're in an environment now where it's not as helpful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in the
It's
new
not as
earth.
helpful.
Sorry, in the new earth, are people clicking on that? Or in the New Earth, are the lovey-dovey titles the ones that get the most views? I'm just curious.
They're clicking on the fear. They're clicking on the fear.
In the
You
New
know what I
Earth.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
In the New Earth environment, we have when it's pure New Earth, we've entered in and shifted into the New Earth. Because we've accessed the Akashic and we have a greater awareness, we know when techniques are being used, and more over time, we will not buy into those techniques, and we will just know, oh, that's just fear-based.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
is what I'm excited about in the New Earth environment. Maybe it'll happen for my kids. It's obviously it's gonna take its time. There's gonna be a point where we will know what's going on behind the scenes with every message.
Yeah.
We'll know what techniques they're using to manipulate us. We'll know when they're lying. Right
Mm,
now, we're getting to that point. Do you notice when you're watching, you just know somebody's bullshitting you?
yeah.
There's an inner knowing of bullshit, and especially for the awakened collective, excuse me, there's more people that are watching, and they're able to instantly know when somebody's lying. And I think it's every single day that is going to expand, and people are going to know more and more when people are being untruthful and using techniques like fear and manipulation in the New Earth environment. There won't be any need to sell or convince people to click on videos. There will be a knowing, an inner knowing, and that's what I'm excited about. You're going to be able to ride down the street and be able to access the Akashic in your mind and have full and complete knowing of everybody around you. And it's going to be an exciting, you'll still have your own individualized consciousness, but when you click on that video, you'll know.
Did you just see that? We just
Yeah,
had a
what was that? There's like a thumbs down right
I,
there.
I
it's
I had my thumb on the couch like this, and it gave you a thumbs down.
Oh, okay.
it's like
I was like, I'm sorry. I
Come
guess
on,
that's wrong.
come on.
Brian. No, we do not agree with that.
The
Okay.
Akashic Records didn't like that, man.
All right. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm just kidding.
That is so funny.
Yeah, that's great.
I love when that happens, and it distracted me from what my thought
Yeah, I
was.
think we're gonna go to people if they have
Yeah.
any.
Let's get some
Well, I
questions.
asked
Yeah, yeah.
for people, but nobody typed anything
Oh,
except for one I have.
you got one?
Yes. Someone was asking, you were talking about applying these techniques to money. How about applying them to health issues, which I think are a lot more challenging sometimes because when your body is affected, it's your temple of creation is your body. So it is really
Yeah.
hard.
Absolutely. There is no difference in what you use these techniques for. They can be used for money, for love. They can be used for health. And in some ways, health is the easiest way to use it. You're only dealing with your body. You're not trying to control the motivations or anything in the outside world. But at the same time, it can be more complicated because your body has integrated beliefs and experiences over the whole entire course of your life. And so you're also dealing with your own genetics when you're dealing with health. And the more and more, and I talked to RJ Spina. He's a really good person that has worked on health. I've met some amazing people that have utilized these techniques to heal themselves, to heal brain tumors. What I can say, and I know that you guys can share this with me, there is a bunch of people out there that have experienced situations where they were told by a doctor they were going to die, and they started going within and healing themselves, and they were able to overcome, and they're living now, and they're absolutely an example. I believe that the majority of the sickness and disease that we experience is mental. At least some percentage of it is mental. And when I've explored the psychological component of my sickness, sometimes people find comfort in their sickness. They find more love.
Hmm.
One thing I encounter a lot in coaching is people that are regularly sick, and it turns out that there's a deep enjoyment of being sick because people give them attention, and
Mhm.
they enjoy that attention and love that they receive. And so subconsciously, they want the love, they want the attention, so they get sick. I see this a lot. I see people wanting to have the love, so they get sick. I got that cough, I got a stomach ache, and somebody says, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me make you that chicken noodle soup. I'm so sorry." They give you that attention and love that they crave. So if you can evaluate the situation that you're in, you oftentimes will find at least a percentage of what you're going through is has a mental quotient. And I have learned a deep reprogramming of my mind and my situation can heal me. My favorite meditations I have done are the bliss body meditations. These are meditations where you go through a deep process of inviting light into literally every cell, cell by cell, in your body. And you wake up, you're like refreshed and renewed as if I've had all the cells in my body replaced. And I believe that this is something that we can do. I believe in the new earth environment. What I'm excited about is that people will be able to have instant healings. Technologies will aid in this because people still don't totally believe in the healing. Understand every time that you've ever healed, it was not any medicine or a doctor that the God force within you did the healing. You cut yourself, it's going to naturally heal. Can you explain how? It's just the God force that's healing you. And what we're trying to enable is the life principle, this healing principle within us to do the healing. A doctor is just trying to aid that healing principle to get you to heal. That's all they're doing. That's all that they were ever. A medication is trying to aid the healing principle to get you to heal. That's all that they're ever doing. So if we understand behind it all, the only thing that's ever going to heal you is this healing principle within you, and that you are this healing principle. You have a direct connection to it. Then you will start to heal. The hardest thing is that we live long lives and we have a lot of experiences, and these are built into our bodies. And so in some cases, it can be hard to find an instantaneous shift in our body in order to heal. If you've gone through 20 years and your parents told you all these things that create sickness within you, you're not going to wake up one day and eliminate all of that. But if you do the work to reprogram your beliefs, then you will find a healing. And absolutely, more and more, we're going to see more and more healing that's happening internally or shifting into realities where we can heal.
Does anybody else have a question? If so, put your hand up. I know Carla had her hand up. Carla, do you still have a question? If so, just wave your hand. No, that doesn't seem. Oh, she does. Okay, cool. Go ahead, Carla.
Hi. I have a question because you're speaking on things that most people, I hope everybody's experiencing. But I had a question about because you had these experiences as well. Like, why do you think that the time is different in the field? Because that's people have surreal moments all the time, or where time slows down, or and then also like getting even deeper into what you were saying, how you saw things in the
Mhm.
field that weren't necessarily in our reality. Because I've had that, like, I saw a Catholic church down by the river, like an old stone one, and it's not there. But it's only
Yeah.
when I've had like the spiritual experiences. So I was just curious, because I know that you've studied all these different, read a million books and the things that you do. So with your accumulative knowledge, I'm interested to what do you think the purpose is? Why that time is different? Why is the time different in the field? Do you know?
It's
And also,
fascinating. Einstein, E equals MC squared, basically came to the conclusion that time is relative. And time is relative. We have times when, where we drive for 15 minutes in our car and it feels like it just went by. And we have times when you're sitting waiting for something to happen and it seems like the clock is ticking and it takes forever. Time is always relative. In the quantum field, everything is happening at the same time. Time is not linear. When things are happening in the quantum field, they change the past and they change the future. And so, as we expand into a greater field of greater awareness with greater information, what we sense as time as being linear will be relative to your situation. We'll come to a point where we can freeze time and we can go back in time and look at what's happened in time. We'll be able to go forward in time and see what's happening, and we'll be able to speed time up and slow it down. Time will be something that we have control of. And when in the infinite eternal now moment, all things are happening at once in the most enlightened space that we can reach, when we're truly at that place in meditation, everything is happening at the same time. And it's a hard thing to come to an understanding of. But if you're experiencing time changes and fluctuations, it just means that your consciousness is raising, because your awareness of time is just a way of for us to experience 3D, one event after another. And as we expand our awareness and understanding in the environment that we're in, time becomes a subjective element that can be changed, sped up. And I'm excited for that. And if you're experiencing these shifts in time, it's a good sign. It means that you're awakening to a larger level of consciousness.
Thank you, Carla. We will go to Aliengri. Oh, no, Alien Girl. Sorry. My bad. Alien Girl. Oh, you just have to unmute.
Oh
There we
yeah, I'm sorry. Um, this is a little bit different of a question.
Yeah.
I don't know how to ask it, but I'm gonna try my best to ask it the best way. What is your idea, or what is your? Sorry, I got stage fright a little bit.
That's fine. No
What is your
worries.
thoughts and what is your thoughts and opinions on the American take of tupas?
Of tupas, I don't know
Tupas
enough.
have become more Americanized now. I don't know if you're aware of that, but they fall in the field of like energy balls, sort of, I guess, and meditation and stuff like that. I know that they're like um from
Maybe it's a name for
their
something
Buddhist
else.
tradition. I know they're a little bit
Yeah.
their background, but that I was struggling to ask the
Yeah.
question. That's not what I even really wanted to ask, but we're gonna go ahead and just go with
Yeah,
this.
yeah. What I would say with tupas in general is that, and as our consciousness awakens, we develop a sixth sight where we can see into energy fields and into other dimensions. And so, if as people witness things like tupas and energy balls and things happening in the environment, it is a sign that we're awakening more and more, and we're starting to see into those unseen realms. That's that, a lot of it may be confusing. We don't fully understand it, but we're going to see more and more. And that's what I believe is happening every day.
Awesome. We go to the
Somebody
last.
asked what my website is. It's therealityrevolution.com.
Awesome. We got one more question. This will be the last one. We go to Gabriel.
Hey, hello everyone.
Hey,
Leah
brother.
and Kyle, thank you very much for hosting this amazing Zoom meeting. Brian, first of all, I have to tell you that you don't know how many times I just wanted to be able to thank you in person.
Thank you,
It's
brother.
incredible. I follow your channel since 6 years ago,
Oh,
but in the
wow.
recent three
Thank you.
years of my life, I was looking information from U.S. Anderson, and then
Hmm.
the amount of information that I found from your readings and all you have in the channel, it was incredible. I was curious about metaphysics since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
By the way, hello everyone from Mexico City. This is I was in the last years. It was very funny to me. I was living in Amsterdam. Then I came
Hmm.
back. I'm a film actor for 26 years of career. Then my whole life became like a huge shift. Lose my
Yeah.
job, divorce, bankrupt, debt, and then in the last three years, I was just following your challenge, so disciplined at night,
Yeah.
the night meditation. So I'm really excited. I have a lot of questions, but I prefer
Hey,
to
go
tell you this
take
in
any
person
questions. I'm good. Yeah. Anything you want to ask.
because it's amazing that from your point of view that you said at the beginning of the Zoom, how did you change for this experience and you wanted to share with people? Oh my God, you don't know how much you helped me with my new business. I redefined myself. Now I'm a dog trainer. I changed my life.
Oh, wow.
I like better dogs than actors. And but everything it has been so intense. So maybe my question, dear Brian, is like in the process of hypnosis, sometimes in daily life, it's difficult to get into that frequency that we would like to. And I think
Yeah.
that night meditations works really hard with that, really well with that. But do you think that in daytime, when we don't have that capacity of going so deep, it's also working, right? It's
Yeah.
like maybe when you go to the gym and you are tired, but it's working, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I get what you're saying. You want to maintain that high vibration, and it's, how do we maintain that high vibration more often in a waking state is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
First
yeah.
of all, let's everybody give Gabriel a hand for that incredible beard game you got going on.
Oh,
I mean, that's impressive, man. I love that.
thank you.
But I'm going to give you 7 magic words that you can change your vibration immediately to the highest vibration at any time, and you can put it before any affirmation. I am so happy and grateful now. You're accessing the I am consciousness. You're amplifying it with the so. You're going into the state of happiness and gratitude. If you can say those words and enter into a state of happiness and gratitude, you can anchor yourself to it. If you can say, I'm so happy and grateful now, if you can say that. More importantly, you can go back through memories in the past when you've been in a high vibrational state and anchor those memories so that you can immediately remember it. You can tug on an earlobe, or you can put your hands together, do something that's and if you can anchor yourself to that high vibrational memory, you can bring it up faster. So a good way is to remember those high vibrational states, to anchor them and to put yourself into it, to give yourself a word or phrase that you can immediately evoke that high vibrational state, and that, give yourself triggers. So you do stuff on a regular basis throughout your day, and you can allow those things to be triggers to pull you back into that high vibrational state. When you walk under a door, when you go to the bathroom, when you wash your hands, when you change your shirt, okay, I'm going to take a moment, I'm going to take a deep breath. And what is amazing about our physiologies and our consciousness is that we can instantaneously shift our state of consciousness to a high vibrational state. And people don't understand that. They think they have to go and do a hour-long meditation to shift, but we don't. We can really shift into a high vibrational state by, going into our consciousness and, saying a phrase, anchoring it. And if we do this on a regular basis, you'll maintain that higher state. When you wake up in the morning, get excited, create a wave of fortune for yourself, get excited about something simple. Um, but that's important. I agree. It's easy to talk about, but a lot of us get caught up in the routine of the world, and it's easy to get sucked into worries and fears and concerns and survival mode, and it drops our vibration. So I think that you got the right idea. Continually put yourself in an environment that raises your vibrational state. Listen to songs that raise your vibration. Be around people that raise your vibration, read books that raise your vibration, watch TV shows that raise your vibration, listen to meditations that raise your vibration. Continue to do that. That the longer you stay in that high vibrational state, the better it will be for you.
Yeah. Basically, what this interview has made me realize is just that we need to hang out more, man. I can interview you for
We do.
hours. This has been incredible. Thank you,
They
everybody.
lied to us. There's
Yeah.
massive changes coming.
It's a
Yeah.
major shift,
Yeah.
Brian.
Major shift.
Major shift.
Absolutely.
I don't know if we can get through this.
Yeah, so thank you for coming, and congratulations on all your success. I'm excited to read the new book and have it change me. So it's always a pleasure, man.
Let me do this. I want to give a free copy of my book to someone. I want you to pick someone out, get their name and address, Kyle, and then send it to me, message it to me, and I will send them a copy of the book. Am I back now?
We got that. We got that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, pick
we
somebody
will.
out in the comments.
Who really
Message
wants it? Who really?
if anybody wants a copy, I'll send a copy of the book. Just because they came and participated, I appreciate that. And then just message me the address and I'll send it to them, okay?
You're the man, Brian.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
thank
if
you,
somebody
everybody.
gives us the right emoji, we're gonna pick the most fun emoji. Whoever can put in the most unique and wonderful
And
emoji.
also for the people that watch the video later, I want Kyle to message somebody. Kyle's going to send me another one, and I'll send a second book for the people that put it. If you put it in the comments, Kyle's going to figure it out. He's going to send me a name, and I'll message it.
Nice.
We'll do
For
it.
I
them.
want you to
All right?
send me an award-winning thumbnail title, Brian. So
I will think about it.
all right.
I have a hard time picking these
I do
thumbnails.
too, man. I really
After the
do.
interview, I'm like, what am I going to say? I don't know.
Yeah, we're seeking
How
help
about
for a
a-
professional thumbnail title maker. So
A major shit in 2025.
2020. Well,
I mean,
I got to say some phrases. So 2025, we're going to see one of the most incredible shifts ever.
just keep going.
It's so
yeah.
exciting. There you go.
Yeah. Actually, just say it. Say something crazy for 30 seconds and let's put it at the beginning. And
What I see what I see happening in 2025 is one of the most incredible shifts ever. We're going to see massive changes. There are so many incredible things that are about to happen. I think this is the tipping point. We're on the brink of something amazing.
let's go.
Intro done.
You're the
All
man,
right.
Brian. All right, everybody.
right.
We
All right,
love
brother.
you all. Take care.
We
We'll
love
talk
you,
soon, man.
everybody.